Hey everyone, welcome back to Talk Sox. Ethan and Brandon here to discuss everything going on with the Red Sox as usual. We are fresh out of the All-Star break. We are into the second half of the year. The Red Sox obviously entered the All-Star break on a Big Ten game winning streak. They are looking like legitimate contenders again, which obviously the way this season's gone, who knows how long that'll last. But with the trade deadline coming up soon, it's a good thing that the Red Sox are starting to look like real contenders in the American League, at least for a wild card spot, if not the AL East. And one of the most talked about stories with the Red Sox this year has been sort of this log jam in the outfield. Obviously, Roman Anthony's up. He's playing full time at this point, and obviously the Red Sox have three other pretty good outfielders. And so a recent quote from Alex Cora came in, which it's a short quote, but it just reads that he was asked about Roman Anthony's sort of status as a, he's been DHing a lot. He said that, he's 21, Alex Cora said he's 21 years old. He can't be a DH at 21. We're going to have him play the outfield, which obviously got us, Ethan, thinking about, well, that probably means that one of the other guys is going to go. So I'll
Yeah.
pass it off to you. I mean, what do you think about, this logjam the Red Sox have?
Yeah, I mean, this was a problem that we knew was coming as soon as Roman Anthony was going to hit the major leagues, right? He's a young guy, and like Alex Cora said, it's not his place to be in the DH spot. Masataka Yoshida will most likely keep that spot if he does stay with the team. But again, you have to get rid of somebody. There can only be so many people on a baseball field. So the two people that Brandon and I have been talking about, and probably a lot of you have talked about, if you've talked about this logjam at all, is Jaron Duran and Wilyer Abreu. Who's got to go? And there's a lot of arguments on who should stay and who should go. For me, I think that Wilyer Abreu should be the one to stay in the outfield, and you could kick Jaron Duran to the curb, which is funny because I talk so highly of him as a baseball player for the past few videos. But again, I think that Duran has had his time. And if it so happens that they trade him or they, just, who knows what else is going to happen to him. But I think that's the right move. But Brandon, you made another good point, so I'm going to throw it over to you about Wilyer Abreu.
Yeah, it's Abreu, I think, is the better long-term player. He's got more years of team control left. He's younger. He's arguably a better defender. This year, he's certainly been a better defender, but obviously, Jarren Duran was very good last year in his MVP style breakout season. But what that also means is that Willie Abreu is more valuable in a trade right now. It means that if the Red Sox were to deal him at the deadline in a week or so, then they would get a really big package in return for him. He's been having a better season than Duran. He looks, long term, it looks like he's going to be better. The only thing he really doesn't do better than Duran is just his speed on the base paths, stealing and taking extra bases. But it's not like he's a slouch in that department. He's just not as good as Duran is. And so it's a tough decision, especially because like Roman Anthony, both of those players are left-handed batters. So, what you're dealing with is three left-handed hitting outfielders, all of whom are pretty good hitters and all of whom can be pretty good defenders. And so it's really a question of, do the Red Sox, if the Red Sox fancy themselves as immediate contenders, is Duran more ready for that than say Abreu is? Or, are they going to play a little bit more of a long-term game and say, you know what, we'll accept a smaller package for Duran. He's not having the best season of his career, and we'll just move forward with Abreu and Anthony in the corners of the outfield. It's a very tough question that they're dealing with.
Yeah, extremely. And I think the other thing to note is, yeah, Roman Anthony is great, but you want to still have somebody on backup. And again, we talked so much about how Jaron Duran last year had really his best season. And I'd rather personally Wilyer Abreu be right by his side to kind of coach him through, even though he is a great player just coming up from the minor leagues, you still need major leaguers, right in your ear saying, this is what you can do better. This is what you can improve on. And I don't think Jaron Duran has the chops for that at this point. And I don't mean to talk trash about him. It's just my feelings.
Yeah, no, he's definitely had his moments Jaron Duran has in a Red Sox uniform. There's been plenty of altercations with teammates and fans, and personal stuff that's come up. And it's not to say that that makes him, a bad teammate. It's obviously it's a little bit more of a media circus, especially in a market like Boston, like one of the bigger media markets in baseball. So. Again, it's just, but it's also one of those things where, Jaron Duran, was a top 10 MVP finisher last year. He has that capability to play like that. And so if you're talking about pure ceiling, you might argue that Duran's the better player because he's already proven he can be that kind of player. And so again, it's a really complicated discussion, especially since the Red Sox are probably going to be buyers. And so what that means is they could execute a trade where that maybe they trade Duran for something they need, like a starting pitcher, which could, which would be a very interesting deal where it's not prospects involved, but it's multiple major leaguers. So we'll see what happens. Again, I think you and I are both kind of on team keep Willie or Abreu this trade deadline, barring, some really big blockbuster move. So we'll see what happens. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this matter. Again, this outfield logjam has been talked about ad nauseum for, this whole season, ever since Roman Anthony's really emerged, in the major leagues. So let us know your thoughts. As always, we'll respond to every comment.